a three-time NBA All-Star, made $108 million playing basketball. 2 years after he retired, he had $0 left, not tight on cash. Zero. He had to sell his championship ring just to cover his debts. This is how that happened. Antoine Walker was drafted 6th overall by the Boston Celtics in 1996, straight out of Kentucky. He was 19 years old. 19. Most people that age are worrying about a part-time job and rent. Walker was signing a 3-year, $5.5 million contract. And here's the part that sets the whole story in motion. He was already in debt after his first season. Not because he had nothing coming in. He had over $1.5 million that year. He bought his mum a $400,000 house before he had even figured out how to manage his own money. That's the pattern. Money in, money out, faster than he could track it. The rise, there are 45 to 2 it. Walker turned into one of the best forwards of his generation. 3 all-star selections, a championship with the Celtics later in his career. In 1999, Boston handed him a 6-year extension worth $71 million. By the time he retired in 2008, after 12 seasons, his career earnings hit $108 million. On paper, that is enough to set up multiple generations of a family for life. Walker did not see it that way. He saw it as access to a lifestyle he had watched from the outside his whole childhood. He has talked openly about growing up wanting to live like the rap stars he idolized. Jay-Z, Puff Daddy, the cars, the jewelry, the entourage, the image. So when the checks started coming, he built exactly that life. The spending, 2 minutes to 3 minutes 45 seconds. Cars, multiple luxury vehicles replaced often. Jewelry, the kind that costs more than most people's houses. A rotating circle of friends and family on his payroll, some of them literally, covering their bills, their homes, their lifestyles too. And gambling. High-stakes gambling, regularly. In Las Vegas, the kind where a single bad night can erase a normal person's entire annual salary. None of these on their own would have bankrupted him. A $108 million earner can absorb a lot of bad spending and still come out fine. What actually pushed him off the cliff was something a lot of people don't expect: real estate. Walker started a company called Walker Ventures, investing heavily in real estate development. It was a smart idea in theory, turning basketball money into a real business. But the timing was brutal. He was holding a large amount of undeveloped property right as the 2008 financial crisis hit. The banks came calling for the money he owed on those projects, and the properties weren't worth what he'd paid for them anymore. That single collapse did more damage than all the cars and jewelry combined. The tax factor, 3 minutes 45 seconds to 4 minutes 45 seconds. Here's a number that surprises almost everyone who hears this story. Out of that $108 million, Walker paid $55.2 million in taxes, just over half. People hear $108 million and picture a mountain of cash sitting untouched. In reality, more than half of it was gone before he ever spent a dollar on himself. So the real number he had to work with, manage, and stretch across a 12-year career and the rest of his life was closer to $50 million. Still an enormous amount of money. But suddenly, the math behind his collapse makes a lot more sense. The fall, 445 to 615. In 2010, 2 years after his final NBA game, Antoine Walker filed for bankruptcy. To put that in context, studies on former NBA players suggest a large percentage face serious financial trouble within 5 years of retirement. Walker did not even make it 2. The bankruptcy was not the only fallout. He also pleaded guilty to felony charges tied to bad checks he had written while trying to cover gambling debts in Las Vegas. His championship ring, one of the physical symbols of everything he had achieved on the court, had to be sold off as part of settling what he owed. He has said the hardest part was not the money disappearing. It was realizing how many people who had been around him during the good years were not around anymore once the money stopped. The comeback from 6:15 to 8 o'clock. Here's where the story shifts. Walker didn't disappear. 2.5 years after declaring bankruptcy, He had rebuilt his finances, not back to $108 million, but back to stability. And he did it by being brutally honest about exactly where he went wrong. He started talking publicly about his mistakes, in interviews, in a documentary about his financial collapse, and eventually as part of a program with Morgan Stanley's Sports and Entertainment division, working alongside former NFL player Bart Scott. His job became teaching young athletes the exact things nobody taught him at 19. How taxes actually work, how fast lifestyle spending compounds, how dangerous it is to invest heavily in one asset class, and how to build a team of financial advisors instead of just a team of friends spending your money with you. The takeaway, 8 minutes to 9 minutes 15 seconds. What makes Walker's story land differently than a lot of athlete goes broke headlines is that it is not really about greed. It's about a 19-year-old getting handed more money than most people see in a lifetime, with zero preparation for what that actually requires. No one sat him down and explained taxes. No one warned him what concentrating his fortune in one real estate portfolio could do if the market turned. He learned all of it the hardest way possible, in public, with his name attached to every headline. And that's really the core of the lesson he tries to pass on now. The amount you earn matters a lot less than what you understand about protecting it. $108 million wasn't the problem. The gap between earning it and understanding it, that was the problem. Closing, 9 minutes 15 seconds to 10 minutes. Antoine Walker made more money in a basketball career than most people will see in 10 lifetimes, and he still ended up at zero. Not because he was reckless in some cartoonish way, but because nobody prepared him for what sudden wealth actually demands. He has rebuilt his life since, and he has spent years trying to make sure the next generation of athletes does not repeat his exact path. If there is one thing worth sitting with from his story, it is this. Earning the money is only half the game. Keeping it is a completely different skill, and it is one almost nobody teaches you until it is already too late.